how to get in summer shape fast. If you are watching this in real time, summer is almost here. Thank God, I can't deal with this weather. But even if we're not watching this live, even if it is the dead of winter right now, whether you have a wedding, whether you have an event, whether summer's coming up, whatever it is, if you do need to lose weight for a particular time of year so you feel really good, I'm gonna give you a couple of tips to make sure that you get there in the fastest, most maintainable way possible. My name is Michelle. I'm the owner and founder of Nutrish Mish, and we've helped over 10,000 people lose weight and keep it off by getting to the root of their problems and changing their eating habits. Make sure that you're subscribed so that you never miss a video, because then all your friends are gonna know exactly what to do and you're gonna be in the dark, so make sure you're subscribed. So before we get into what to do, we're gonna get into what not to do. And it's the most tempting thing, and I guarantee you it's what everybody was going to do prior to watching this video. What a lot of people do, and this is the biggest mistake to get in summer shape, is you go all in fast. If your goal is weight loss and just purely weight loss, what's gonna happen is you're gonna be very restrictive the next couple months. You're gonna be exercising, you're gonna be doing everything full out. The problem is it's not gonna be maintainable, and by the end of July, you're gonna gain everything back plus, and that bathing suit is not gonna feel as good on you as it did at the beginning of the month. So we wanna make sure that we're thinking about longevity as well as like how to get there the most efficient way possible. So as much as it's tempting to do that shake, or like your friend that's selling, this new product or this new supplement or this new pill, or like, do one of these quick scammy kind of fad diet things, will that get the weight off of you fast? Yes, but that's manipulating your weight, and we know the stat, 95% of people will gain that back, and the faster you tend to lose it, the faster you tend to gain it. So listen to these tips or tricks. These will actually get you there, but with longevity in mind. So whenever you have an event or summer or something coming up, I don't love losing it for that particular event. Here's why. Once the event happened, once the event's over, then you can check that off the box, and then whatever habits that you developed or however you were eating, it's gonna stop because your goal was accomplished, and then you're gonna gain everything back. And that's one of the reasons why so many people gain the weight back. What I do like though is I like using the energy of it. So like, for example, when I was getting married, right? Of course, like I couldn't be like a crazy dieter, because like I would never do that. That's not in line with what I teach or what I practice or what I see efficient. But I like to use that energy as a little extra motivation to like get in the best shape that I possibly could. So if you have an event or summer or something coming up, think about using the energy as a little extra motivation, but always keep that longevity thing in mind, because you don't want to be in a position where you lose everything and then you gain it back in like a couple weeks or a month. So then you just kind of tortured yourself for no reason just to gain the weight back. So here are 5 things I would recommend doing right now so that by the time summer rolls around, you're feeling amazing in your bathing suit, you're feeling so much better, so much more confident, whatever it may be. And number 5 is gonna have the most impact, so make sure you stick around till the end. So number 1, this might seem a little obvious, but make sure you're moving. It could be any form of exercise, but it's so important. Ideally, you want to get a mix of cardio and strength training. Now, here's the thing. Just moving in general doesn't necessarily make people lose a ton of weight on the scale. Because remember, there's 3,500 calories in a pound of fat. So that means if we divide that by 7 days a week, you would have to be in the gym probably over an hour to see 1 pound of fat every single week, and just 1 pound of fat. So I don't love the idea of working out for that reason. However, what you're gonna do is you're gonna start to create momentum to get into these healthy habits. When you start doing cardio, what's gonna happen is you're gonna start burning fat a little bit more. You're gonna start burning, if you're taking in a couple extra calories, it's gonna start to shave those off. And then strength training, which I feel is the most important. It's something that so many people skip, especially women. But what strength training is gonna do, it's gonna make you feel really toned and tight. And that feeling is gonna make you feel leaner and more confident. What's interesting is, like, obviously if you strength train today, tomorrow you're not gonna look any different to anybody, but you're gonna feel a little bit less jiggly, you're gonna feel a lot more tight. So doing a combination of cardio and strength, I think, is so important, and I think so overlooked. Keep in mind, it's not gonna equate to like 1,000,000 pounds on the scale, but it's gonna create positive momentum. It's gonna help shave off those couple extra calories that you might be consuming, and it's gonna make you feel really toned and tight, which you can't necessarily achieve that by manipulating what you're eating. And again, all of these tips that I'm giving you, they're gonna apply generally for most people. It might not apply specifically for you. So if this is something that you want a little bit more of a personalized approach from, check out the link in the show notes. We have a session with us at Nutrish Mish there. Definitely take advantage of that, because if you have a session with us, you're gonna walk away with so much information. You're gonna know exactly how all of this applies to you personally, because remember, nutrition is not one size fits all. Some people watching this video, they're gonna be like, you know what, that's cool, I could take a lot of action items away from this, but if you want it really personalized for you, I highly recommend taking advantage of that session. The link is in the show notes. So number 2, and this is gonna sound a little bit counterintuitive for the intermittent fasting crew out there, but again, intermittent fasting, remember, does not work for everybody, and I think what works even more for people who intermittent fast is the cutoff time. But here's what I'm gonna say, no matter how you're eating, no matter what your eating style is, you wanna make sure you're eating more during the day so that you're not eating too much at the end of the day. Because remember, calories and energy mean mean the same thing. So if you don't give your body enough calories or enough energy beginning, middle of the day when it needs it, or whenever your day might be, or even whenever your eating day starts, what's gonna happen is your body's gonna crave a lot of it at the end of the day. So then you're gonna give your body all this energy or taking all this calories to do all these things, and then your body's gonna be like, well, we're not really doing too much right now, and it's very likely to get stored. So somebody who comes in, for example, and let's say like, you know, they're maybe not really eating breakfast, maybe they're having like a super light lunch, and then they're having the majority of their calories maybe like 4 or 5 o'clock and on, those people are gonna have a little bit more of a difficult time reducing their body fat and seeing results than somebody where their calories are spread out a little bit more throughout the day or whenever your eating day starts and stops. Tip number 3, drink a lot of water. This is important for a million reasons, but I think just from a weight point of view, if you're not drinking enough water, what ends up happening is your body's gonna be very likely to store it. Because think about it this way, if your fluid levels were able to get super, super low, what would end up happening is your body wouldn't be able to have your heart beat hard enough to get blood and fluid and oxygen and everything throughout your body. So if you're not drinking enough, your body's gonna be a lot more likely to retain water. Now, when you're retaining water, you're gonna feel a little bit bloated, your stomach might feel a little bit distended, your weight's gonna be higher on the scale, you're gonna think you're doing something wrong. So if you're drinking consistent amounts of water and the right amounts of water, your body will constantly be flushing out any extra sodium, which can cause water retention, and your fluid levels will be pretty stabilized, so your body won't feel the need to retain water, which water retention could be just as annoying as gaining actual weight sometimes. Number 4, track your food. And I know people have such a hang up about this, and usually people that have a hang up about it are the people who have tried diet programs before and they wrote down what they ate, and then some like skinny annoying person was like, you shouldn't have eaten that, and you're like, okay, cool, thanks, not helpful. So you make yourself feel bad about what you wrote down. But what's interesting is when you start to track your food, what you can do is you can see what your baseline is, and your body will improve from wherever your baseline is, right? So if I have a guy who comes in to see me and he's eating 15 cheeseburgers a week and now he's eating 10, maybe not ideal, right? But at least that's going to be better than his body's used to, so he's still going to see results. If we tell him stop eating cheeseburgers are bad for you, he's probably binging by Thursday. But if we don't know how many he started with, we don't know where the improvement is coming in. We're just trying to take a guess. So if you really want to start to see results for summer, I would take inventory of exactly what you're eating in a week right now, see where you can start to make some changes, and then just make those changes. But when you have an honest baseline, you know where those changes can come from, especially the ones that you see the most impact but care the least about. That's the other thing that we do at Nutrish Mish. We really help people kind of find a framework for them where you're making changes from the most impactful with the least amount of stress and the least amount of restriction all the way through, so that by the time you're over here, you took those appropriate steps so it doesn't feel big and overwhelming. We just kind of drew the line in the sand a little further. Our framework for actually changing how you eat is like a huge part of what makes us successful, but that's really based around getting a baseline of where you're at right now and making improvements from there. So my tip there, track your food. Honestly, don't make yourself feel bad about it, just to get a baseline and then just make improvements off of that. And number 5, my last little tip here, and again, this might not apply to everybody, but it'll apply to most people. Whenever you're having a carbohydrate, combine it with a protein or a fat. And again, this is something that we really teach people at Nutrish Mish how to do, and it's a little bit individualized. But the reason that carbs can sometimes make people gain weight is because they get processed so much faster than protein or fat. So if you have, just for example, cereal in the morning, what can happen is your blood sugar will spike really quick, crash really quick, and then your body's gonna want that sugar high again. When you combine it with like some nuts or something like that that has some protein or fat, it makes everything much more stable. So A, you feel full for a longer period of time. B, your body actually has time to digest and process it, because if it doesn't, whatever it couldn't process is very likely to get stored as fat, because there's no like holding room for carbohydrates, right? The storage space for protein in the body is muscle, the storage space for fat is fat. There is no storage space for carbs in the body. So whatever your body couldn't process in that moment will get converted to fat unless it gets processed. So the way that you slow down how fast it gets processed is you combine it with protein or fat. There is a little bit more of an exact formula for this for most people, but for now, if you just start doing it, it's gonna be enough, so you'll see some results by summer. So I know summer's coming up. I know everyone's anxious to fit in their bathing suits and their small clothes and feel really good about themselves. Don't fall into the trap of making all these big dramatic changes that aren't gonna stick, because once summer rolls around, you're gonna wanna enjoy the food, you're gonna wanna enjoy the parties, you might wanna drink. So make sure you're getting there in a way that's maintainable. And these 5 tips will really make it so that you start to see results by the time summer rolls around, but then you're gonna maintain them even throughout September.